stop before you post that photo. I need you to watch this. Because the people who never post their photos, psychologists are now saying they might be the most psychologically advanced people on the platform. Not broken, not shy, not insecure. There's a person you know, maybe a friend, maybe a coworker, maybe someone you follow. They never post photos of themselves. No selfies, no travel shots, no gym mirrors, no look at my life moments. And you've probably wondered, what's wrong with them? Here's the twist. Absolutely nothing. In fact, science and psychology suggest the opposite is true. Today we're going inside the mind of the person who refuses to perform, and what we find there will completely change how you see yourself. Every time you post a photo and wait for likes, your brain releases a small hit of dopamine. It feels like coincidence. It feels like connection, but it's not. It's a loop. Post, wait, validate, repeat. The person who doesn't post has stepped off that loop entirely. Their self-image isn't built in the comments section. It's built in private, through real experiences, real relationships, real reflection. Psychologists call this internal locus of control. They don't need the world to tell them who they are. They already know. Think about the last beautiful moment you had. A sunset, a dinner with someone you love, a quiet morning. Did you reach for your phone? Here's what that costs you. The moment you switch into content mode, your brain shifts from experiencing to producing. You stop feeling. You start framing. You stop being present. You start performing. The person who doesn't post stayed in the moment. They let the sunset land on their chest. They looked the person across the table in the eyes. They actually lived it instead of packaging it for someone else's scroll. Here's something nobody talks about. When you post a photo and it doesn't perform, it stings. Maybe a little, maybe a lot, because somewhere deep down, you tied your value to that number. The person who never posts never gave anyone that power. They never handed a stranger a measuring stick and said, "Tell me how much I'm worth today." Psychologists describe this as image independence, the ability to exist fully without external reflection. They like themselves before anyone else gets the chance. And that's not arrogance. That's the rarest form of confidence there is. There's a concept in psychology called the private self. It's the part of you that exists only for you, your real thoughts, your deepest joys, your most sacred memories. When you share everything publicly, that private self shrinks. You start living for the feed, not for yourself. The person who keeps their photos private isn't hiding, they're protecting. They've decided that some moments are too precious to be liked, scrolled past, and forgotten. Some things are meant to be felt, not consumed. Their joy doesn't need an audience to be real. Their life doesn't need a caption to have meaning. Social media platforms change, trends die, followers unfollow. The person whose identity lives in their feed loses a piece of themselves every time the numbers shift, but the person who never posted, their identity was never on the platform. It was never at risk. Psychologists call this identity stability, a sense of self that doesn't fluctuate with external feedback. They are the same person with 0 followers as they are with 1 million. That's not small. That is everything. So let's reframe everything you thought you knew. The person who doesn't post their photos, they're not invisible, they're intentional. They're not insecure, they're anchored. They're not missing out, they're fully present. They're not afraid to be seen, they've simply outgrown the need. And in a world that profits from your insecurity, choosing not to perform is one of the most rebellious, powerful things a human being can do. Here's the question I want you to sit with. When was the last time you did something beautiful and told absolutely no one? Because that moment, the one that existed only for you, that might have been the most real thing you've done in a long time. You don't need a photo to prove you were there. You were there. That's enough. If this made you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you've never posted a photo of yourself in your life, drop a comment below, because I think you might be the most interesting person in the room.